By 2005, we were 3 years into the Ruthless Aggression era, and honestly, the best part about the era was the brand split. It was an actual brand split. Yeah, there was no wildcard rule back then, and what I loved about it the most was that Raw and Smackdown felt like two completely different shows. Like when you're watching Raw, it felt like a different show than Smackdown. Whereas now, for me anyways, Raw and Smackdown still kind of feel the same at the end of the day. However, back then the vibes were just different, which created this beef between the two brands, and it wasn't just a gimmick for the fans. No, the wrestlers themselves took the brand split pretty seriously. The wrestlers took pride in which brand they were on, and they wanted to do better than the other brand, especially the SmackDown roster. Here's what Hornswoggle had to say about SmackDown vs. Raw from the Ruthless Aggression era.
It was a family, man. Like if Raw ran a pay-per-view, or if Raw ran a live event in Australia, one tour, and we were there the next tour, and if we beat them, it was a big fuck you.
Yeah, there was a little bit of competition between. Yeah, I always heard that.
And you know, the cool thing was like Taker led it. He led the SmackDown, and we would get in. We would have if he heard we beat them, we'd call a meeting. Guys, we fucking did it. We beat them. We fucking beat them.
Which leads us to Survivor Series 2005. The first ever SmackDown vs. Raw Elimination Tag match took place at this pay-per-view, which I'm gonna be honest, especially if you were a kid back then, this was a big deal because either you were Team SmackDown or Team Raw. You always had a preference and you just wanted to see your brand win. However, the show was more than just that. We had a classic last man standing match, and we had an overbooked WWE title match that was something straight out of the Attitude Era. So yo, let's go back to 2005 and take a look at Survivor Series. By late 2005, Triple H had officially lost his mojo. So Orton and Batista were gone and doing their own things, and he was no longer the world champion. And even Ric Flair, who was also on Evolution, went on to do his own thing, and he was living his best life. He was actually the IC champion. But Evolution was dead and everyone went their separate ways, and poor Triple H was just there with nothing to do. So Triple H took some time off and eventually came back at Raw Homecoming, and he was teaming up with his best friend Ric Flair in a tag match. They would go on to win the tag match, and both men got great reactions, and it was a throwback to the glory days of Evolution. But then Triple H did what he does to everyone. He turned on Ric Flair. He took that sledgehammer and absolutely destroyed Ric Flair into a bloody mess. For a good 5 minutes, he just assaulted his best friend. Yo, I don't know why anyone at this point wants to be best friends with Triple H, cause this always happens. But yeah, Triple H had lost everything, so all he could do was let his anger out on a 56-year-old man. The man that trusted him, his homie, his buddy. When Triple H explains why he did it, he said that he saved Ric Flair. He said back in the day, Ric Flair was his hero and he was the greatest of all time, but when he came to the WWE, he was a nobody, a shell of his former self. He was useless, but he took him in. He brought him into Evolution and he made him great again. But now without him, he was back to being useless, which I don't really understand because he was IC champion, but okay. But yeah, he said he was back to being a joke, so he had to finish Ric Flair. He had to destroy Ric Flair before he ruins his legacy even more. And Ric Flair though, well, Ric Flair is Ric Flair and he does not back down from a fight. So those two would eventually have a match at Taboo Tuesday, a steel cage match, Triple H versus Ric Flair. It was violent, it was disturbing, and Triple H just put in work against the helpless Ric Flair. But just when it had seemed that Triple H was going to win, Ric Flair turned around the clock and went vintage Flair mode and somehow put the victory out of his ass. Ric Flair somehow beat Triple H in the steel cage match. Ric Flair did it, he overcame all the odds. But you really think that Triple H was just going to let him beat him like that? Triple H went on to become even more psycho. He would not stop his mission to finish off Ric Flair, but Ric still wouldn't back down. So it was time for one more match. So Ric Flair survived the steel cage, however could he survive a Survivor Series? Triple H versus Ric Flair, last man standing match. One person leaves the winner, the other person leaves in an ambulance. It all came down to this. It was a simple but honestly a really good storyline. So Triple H comes out looking thick, and I mean thick with 3 C's. Thick H was in the house and Ric Flair comes out to a huge reaction. But before he could even get in the ring, the assault had begun. Triple H attacked him on the entrance ramp. Come on, man, you're versing a 56-year-old man. At least let him get his robe off. They get inside the ring and Triple H already has a chair. Well, Ric Flair, to fight the chair, gets a kendo stick, which honestly looked pretty weird in his hands. But they were going at it. It was time for the brawl. They eventually end up fighting where the fans are by the hockey boards, shout out to the Red Wings, and then they go back to ringside, and this is where it gets pretty violent. Triple H pulls out a toolbox and picks out a screwdriver. He then goes on to use a screwdriver as the weapon to bust open Ric Flair bad. And yo, it was nasty. Ric Flair was bleeding bad, but if that wasn't enough, Flair made sure to blade even more. Yo, I swear nobody loves blading more than Ric Flair. This man is crazy. So Flair's whole face and hair was red due to all the blood, and Triple H just grabs the mic and says, "Stay down, or I'm gonna put you down for good." And Flair was like, okay, and countered that by grabbing Triple H by the balls. What a lifestyle. They battled on the Raw announce table with Flair countering the pedigree attempt into a back body drop that drove Hunter through the Spanish announce table. A 56-year-old man just drove a 36-year-old Triple H through the announce table. That's the crazy part. This match was wild, it was bloody, and it was violent, and Ric Flair was a 56-year-old man. Ric Flair is just something else, man. Shout out to him. Yo, they don't call Flair the dirtiest player in the game for no reason. The assault that he deployed against Triple H's nuts was wild. Nut grabbing, low blows, using the ring post, Flair was doing whatever he could to destroy Triple H's nuts. Flair was just doing whatever he could think of. He was even biting Triple H at one point. Flair came back with a chair shot to the leg and Rick was putting in work and it looked like he might have pulled it off. He even got Triple H in the figure 4 leg lock and he had it on for a good minute. Triple H was screaming and eventually tapped out. Sadly, that doesn't mean anything in this match. Flair tried everything he possibly could. Literally everything. I mean, like I said, he bit the man. But it wasn't enough. Triple H just kept on fighting. Doesn't matter how many nut shots he took, how many chair shots, figure 4 leg locks, he kept on coming back. Poor old man Rick didn't know what the fuck to do. So no matter what Rick did, it didn't mean anything. So Hunter just comes back and hits him with a pedigree in the center of the ring. The ref is counting and Flair is down for about an 8 count. But 56-year-old man Ric Flair wasn't going to die that fast. Triple H hit another pedigree in the middle of the ring. And the madman still got up and stumbled his way to the ropes and gave Triple H the middle finger before getting up at a 9 count. Triple H then hits the third pedigree, a hat trick, shout out Cristiano Ronaldo. But once again, this crazy son of a gun would not die. Flair got up one more time. The drama and the storytelling was great. Old Yeller would not be put down that easily. However, there was one thing that would put him down pretty easily. The good old fashioned sledgehammer. Triple H hits him with a sledgehammer and he's out. The referee counts to 10 and Triple H won the match. Yo, these two killed each other for 27 minutes. Think how crazy that is. I know I said it a lot, but Ric Flair was 56 years old and he went out there and had a 27-minute last man standing match. Bleeding, taking weapon shots, taking bumps, everything. You name it, he probably took it in this match. What a match. This is a true last man standing match that lives up to the gimmick. Because after this, I don't think Flair was going to stand for a good month or so. It was perfect. It was violent as hell and man, Ric Flair just loves bleeding. Triple H didn't bleed in this match, but it's okay. Flair bled enough for the both of them. After this, Thick H would get his mojo back and begin his march to WrestleMania 22. John Cena versus Kurt Angle for the WWE Championship. So in 05, John Cena finally became the WWE Champion. Also in 05, Kurt Angle became even more psycho than ever. Kurt Angle was out here just absolutely assaulting Eugene for no reason, just doing whatever he wanted when he wanted. And now he was on Raw and all he wanted to do was become WWE Champion. This feud was simple. This wasn't some deep storyline like Flair vs Triple H. Nah, Cena was the champion and Kurt Angle wanted to be champion. Angle thought that Cena was a fake champion and he wanted to end the charade. But to make things even better for Angle, he had general manager Eric Bischoff on his side, who also wanted to see Cena go down. Angle also got Eric Bischoff to give him his own special referee for all of his matches, Daivari. The deck was stacked against Cena. John Cena versus Kurt Angle, with Kurt Angle's boy Daivari as a special guest referee. Can Cena overcome the odds? Yo, why did I even ask that? What the fuck? Cena came out to a great reaction, but there were definitely some boos, and Kurt Angle comes out looking like he's ready to snap Cena's ankle off. The match begins and the crowd is super hot for this one. There was a dueling chant early on of "Let's go Angle, let's go Cena." Love him or hate him, but Cena always had the crowd invested, and then you add an Angle, this was gonna be a fun time. So these two go at it, and the whole time you know something funky is going to happen due to Daivari being the special guest referee. So Cena hit a shoulder tackle that sent Angle to the floor. Daivari grabbed Cena to prevent him from going outside to fight him, and the chants got louder and louder as Angle stalled on the floor. The crowd was going crazy, and this felt like a big time match. So as the match goes on, Cena hit him with a suplex and went for the cover, but Daivari didn't even count. It was so obvious that this was going to happen, but it was still hilarious. Wait, don't worry, trust me, it gets even better. So they're fighting and Angle gets him in the ankle lock, and Cena's trying to fight for a good minute. He's in the ankle lock. He finally gets to the rope, and it's like, yes, they're finally gonna break it. And all you see is Daivari just kick Cena's hands off the rope. So yo, if you didn't notice by now, this match wasn't going to be some wrestling classic. Nah, from this moment on, it became an overbooked mess. But that's not a bad thing. You add in the personalities involved, the hot crowd, and Joey Styles on commentary. I'll be honest, this was a fun match. So then Cena shoved Angle into Daivari, and both of the heels went crashing to the floor. So Daivari's dead, and another referee ran in. Angle's still fighting, he does a few suplexes and goes for the count, and the new referee counts for 2. And Kurt's just like, wait, why is there a new referee in here? What? So then Cena gets the advantage and goes for the 5-knuckle shuffle. Angle gets up and just clotheslines the referee, and you guessed it, here comes another referee. And while the referee is running in, Angle hits Cena with another angle slam. So that's the 3rd referee of the match, and you would think by now Daivari, who is a former wrestler, would have risen from the dead by now. But you know, it's fine, the more referees the merrier. Angle was trying to do whatever he could to win the match, so he did a superplex off the top, only got a 2 count. Angle then went up and tried to do a moonsault, but just like every other Kurt Angle moonsault, he missed. Cena moved out of the way and Angle hit the mat. Cena went for the FU and Angle grabbed the shirt of the referee and nailed Cena with the clothesline. And then Angle hit an uppercut to knock down the referee Mickey Henson. So Angle by this time has killed 2 referees and Daivari is still dead. Will someone please think of the damn referees? So Angle just takes matters into his own hands and rolls Daivari back to the ring. He has risen. So the Raw referees keep getting destroyed. So I assumed they were like, yo, maybe we should send a Smackdown referee. Maybe the Smackdown one will survive. So now Smackdown referee Charles Robinson is walking down to the ring. So Cena hit Daivari with the DDT, who was still technically the referee of the match. Angle comes in and all he sees is his poor referee just destroyed. So Cena grabs him, FU, and bang. The Smackdown referee starts counting. 1, 2, 3, Cena beats Angle. What an overbooked mess, but like I said, it was fire. The crowd, the commentary, and the talent involved made it fun. Going back all the way to 2002, Cena and Angle had a lot of good matches together because Angle brought out the best of Cena. Imagine the matches they would have had in the late 2000s as Cena became a better worker. The amount of overbooking they did here was insane. This was something straight out of the Attitude Era. You had countless referees, you had a Smackdown referee coming in for a Raw match, you had the special guest referee getting DDT'd, you had all these shenanigans, the crowd was hot, it was fun. Smackdown vs Raw. As mentioned in other videos growing up, I was always Team Smackdown. I don't know what it was, but Smackdown always had my heart. Even when Cena, my favorite growing up, got drafted to Raw, I was still a Smackdown type of guy. Like I said in the intro, the vibes of the shows were totally different and unique, and after 3 years of the brand split, it was finally time for the showdown, and the build up to this match was amazing. It all started at Raw Homecoming, so this was a reunion show back in 05, which is honestly one of the better ones they've done, to be honest. And on this special night, we were going to get SmackDown wrestlers wrestling on the show. It was a tag match, and as Batista and JBL are about to lock up, Eric Bischoff, of course, walks out and just starts ripping on SmackDown. "This is Raw. My audience doesn't want to see a second-rate performance." Teddy Long was on commentary and he looked like he was about to cry. And Eric Bischoff just turned off the lights in the arena and cuts a commercial break. Damn. So then Teddy took things into his own hands. On SmackDown, he said Eric embarrassed them, so now he's going to send his wrestlers to Taboo Tuesday, a Raw pay-per-view, and settle the score. And that's what happened. Rey Mysterio and Matt Hardy showed up at Taboo Tuesday and turned up and beat up Snitsky and Chris Masters. So Eric Bischoff after that starts crying to Vince, and Vince basically says, "Yo, that sounds like a personal problem, go do something about it." Which leads to a SmackDown episode where Eric comes out with a shit ton of security and challenges Teddy Long to a 5v5 Survivor Series match. They also had a match here, Eric Bischoff versus Teddy Long, but we don't talk about that. Let's just pretend that never happened. So anyway, Teddy accepts the 5v5 match and drops his banger line. "It's just gonna be like the Monday Night Wars, player. You're gonna lose this one too." Ouch. It was on SmackDown vs. Raw, but then it got even more heated. So Raw issued an all-out attack. Poor Teddy was leaving the arena and Chris Masters pulled up and put him in the Master Lock. Rest in peace, Teddy. This was back when the Master Lock was like the most feared finisher in all of WWE. So the SmackDown roster ran up and Chris Masters left, and then like a mission out of GTA, the entire SmackDown roster got in JBL's limo and chased them. All you had to do was follow the damn limo, JBL. So yeah, JBL was a good guy here for once. However, that was the dumbest thing they could have done. So all of SmackDown's top stars left to chase Masters. That same night, Batista had a match, but instead of his opponent coming out, wrestlers from Raw took over. Kane, Big Show, and Edge pulled up and absolutely destroyed Batista. The SmackDown leader was destroyed. For the next few weeks, it was all out mayhem. Raw superstars attacking SmackDown stars on SmackDown and vice versa. And then we got the legendary SmackDown vs. Raw parking lot brawl. Avengers Civil War had nothing on this. This was so hyped up. Batista, Rey, Lashley, JBL, and Orton versus HBK, Big Show, Kane, Masters, and Carlito. Yeah, the talent was much better on SmackDown, but Raw had Shawn freaking Michaels. The sad part though is the late great Eddie Guerrero was supposed to be in the match. He had recently turned babyface following a short feud with Batista over the World Heavyweight Championship, and Eddie was actually supposed to be the World Heavyweight Champion by Survivor Series because Batista was injured. It was a sad time for the wrestlers and his family, of course, but a lot of fans too. Eddie was loved by everyone. It's a sad situation. Rest in peace to the legend. It's hard to watch this show and this match and all the build-up knowing that Eddie was supposed to be a part of this. Rest in peace to Eddie Guerrero. So yeah, that's why Randy Orton was here. He was Eddie Guerrero's replacement. But yeah, man, here we were. SmackDown vs. Raw. One of the best build-ups for a Survivor Series elimination tag that I've ever seen. So Rey Mysterio came out to a huge reaction. He had the Eddie Guerrero armbands and fans were chanting Eddie loudly over the music. It was beautiful. Batista came out to a huge reaction as well. JBL actually got a mixed reaction. And oh my god, remember Jillian Hall with that thing on her face? Ugh. So Bobby Lashley came out looking jacked beyond comprehension. Randy Orton, the legend killer, came out with his father to a great reaction as well. It was clear that the fans were on SmackDown's side, especially because I think fans knew that SmackDown was never getting treated the same way Raw did, and also they had the bigger baby faces. The SmackDown team was just so stacked. But like I said, Raw had Shawn Michaels, and then HBK comes out and his pop blew the roof off the place. Then the rest of Raw's heels come out, and yo, it was hype. The match starts and the crowd was into it, and the best part was that both commentary teams were calling this, so the Raw and SmackDown commentary team, and let's just say that Taz was shooting. He was taking everything mad personal and he was legit mad. It was amazing. It felt like a big deal. After all these years, finally SmackDown vs. Raw. So Shawn Michaels and Randy Orton started it off. Remember Survivor Series 2003? What a coincidence. However, both men tagged out rather quickly for Chris Masters and Bobby Lashley. As the match went on, Michaels entered back into the match and was up against Lashley. So Lashley, who was a rookie at this point, hit a body slam followed by a belly to belly on Michaels, but then Mr. Cool Guy Carlito went in the ring. But this was the downfall of Bobby Lashley. So Carlito's down, and Michaels is kinda down too, and the referee's checking up on Carlito. So Kane from the apron chokeslams Bobby Lashley without even coming into the ring, and Michaels just goes up and pins him. And Smackdown was the first team to be down by a man. And then came the GOAT, Rey Mysterio. Mysterio put in work on Kane and then tagged in Batista, and once Batista came in, the crowd went mental. And yo, during this time the commentary was wilding. All you hear is, "Damn Taz, you put on a lot of pounds," said Joey Styles, and Taz replies, "Damn right I put on a lot of pounds cause I make a lot of money while you sit at home broke." Taz was on one. But yeah, Batista crushed Kane in the corner, and then Kane punched Batista in the ribs, which was the story of the match for SmackDown. Batista, their captain, was legit injured, so he was taped up like a mummy here. Injured and all, Batista was still wrestling. So Kane knocks the other SmackDown guys off the apron, but then Batista out of nowhere hit a spear on Kane, and then Mysterio hit a 619 to Kane, and then Batista with a spine buster on Kane was enough to pin him. So Kane was eliminated, but sadly for Batista, he was eliminated soon after. See, Kane didn't leave right away, and instead him and Big Show did a double chokeslam on Batista, and Big Show pinned him. Batista was eliminated. This was because Batista was actually injured, so they had to limit his time so his injury couldn't get worse. But then we got one of my favorite eliminations of all time. So Big Show and JBL are in the ring, they were fighting, and eventually Randy Orton stunned Show on the top rope, leading to JBL hitting the clothesline from hell. But the clothesline did little damage, to be honest. Big Show was still getting up, so JBL tagged in Mysterio and hit him with the 619. But the Big Show still wouldn't stay down. So Mysterio tagged in Orton, who hit a RKO on Show, but the big man still wouldn't go down. And at this point, everyone's just like, how many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? JBL got the tag once again and bounced off the ropes and hit another clothesline from hell, and then tagged in Mysterio, who did a senton and finally pinned the Big Show. It took all of that to eliminate the Big Show. And that's what I love about these matches, is that you finally see the heels and faces working together. You're so used to booing JBL or booing Randy Orton, whereas now they're all working together for one goal. So heel and face thing doesn't really matter. So it's 3-on-3 with all 6 guys brawling around the ring. Orton, JBL, and Mysterio on SmackDown, HBK, Carlito, and Masters on Raw. So JBL hit a fallaway slam on Michaels on the floor, and the Heartbreak Kid was hurt. In other words, it was time for him to rest. At this point, SmackDown took over, so JBL made a blind tag and crushed Carlito with a clothesline from hell to eliminate him. Then poor Chris Masters got clapped. 619 from Mysterio to Masters. It was 3-on-1. Michaels versus 3 men. And yo, does this not sound familiar? Survivor Series 2003, anyone? And Randy Orton and Michaels are both involved? Don't you love long-term coincidental storytelling? So JBL and Mysterio are just dominating HBK. Shawn is flopping around like he's dead. He has no life in him. But everybody and their mom knew HBK wasn't going down like this. So Mysterio and HBK are fighting, and Mysterio goes for a springboard attack. He jumps and bang. Sweet chin music in midair. Good God almighty, rest in peace to Rey Mysterio. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it was the same exact spot as a Shelton Benjamin one, but trust me, this one looked deadly as well. Rey's head almost got knocked off, and it was hype. That's one way to bring HBK back into the match. So HBK brought it down to 2v1. Then comes JBL. So JBL went from the clothesline from hell, but Michaels avoided it, and bang, another sweet chin music to eliminate JBL. 1, 2, 3, and it was time for the one-on-one. Deja vu much? Orton's team blew a 3-1 lead to Michaels, and now it's Michaels versus Orton. It's basically Survivor Series 2003 all over again. So Michaels was more than fatigued, he was dead, and Orton was fresh. So Orton tried to do the RKO, but Michaels countered, and Shawn went classic showstopper mode. Forearm, kip up, atomic drop, 2 clotheslines and a body slam, and then Michaels went up to do the flying elbow. He flies through the air and hits the flying elbow, and both men were down in the ring. It was anybody's ball game. So JBL though, well, JBL was up to no good as usual. He was stumbling around, looked like he was drunk to be honest, and he was looking for a chair. He got the chair, he walked in the ring and tried hitting Michaels with the chair. So Michaels avoids him and nails him with a sweet chin music, but then Michaels turns around and of course, guess who's there? Randy Orton. And out of nowhere, RKO. He goes for the cover. 1, 2, 3. Randy Orton, for the 3rd straight year, the sole survivor, for the 2nd time eliminated Shawn Michaels in 3 years, and ladies and gentlemen, SmackDown had beat Raw. Thank God SmackDown won. I was the happiest kid ever when SmackDown won. It was like, wow, SmackDown always felt like the underappreciated child, but now they won. And I know it was meaningless. I know it didn't mean anything, but yo, it was hype. And Orton is celebrating. All the SmackDown jobbers came down. Yeah, literally no star came down. Like, you would think Batista and JBL would come down to celebrate, but they didn't. Instead, it was your Simon Deans of the world. So they're celebrating with Randy. They're hoisting him on his shoulders. Randy did it. Randy clutch Orton, held it down once again. SmackDown won, and it was all good in the hood. But then you hear this. And man, when I tell you Randy Orton looked shook, he looked shook. I have never seen a human being look so shook before in my life. Look at his face, he's begging the SmackDown roster to let him down, and then Undertaker's demons or whatever place a casket on the entrance stage, and they just left. Orton is tripping, but no way, it can't be the Undertaker. See, Orton and Taker had a feud that lasted almost the entire year, a WrestleMania match all the way to a SummerSlam match, and then finally a casket match at No Mercy. But Randy beat Taker in the casket match and then lit the casket on fire. The Undertaker was dead, so it can't be him on the stage, right? He can't come back. Oh man, trying to explain this storyline is why I love wrestling. Only wrestling would have a story like this. But then Undertaker's music started up. The arena went black and a lightning bolt hit the casket, which was on fire, just like how Orton set the casket on fire at No Mercy. Undertaker kicks down the casket and walks out looking like the biggest badass ever, straight from a horror movie. Orton is contemplating suicide at this point. He can't believe what he's seeing, and Undertaker is walking to the ring with a purpose. Undertaker went into the ring with punches, kicks, and choke slams for all the jobbers on the SmackDown roster. Orton ran for his life, and Undertaker cleaned out the ring. So Orton is on the ramp, and Taker's in the ring, and Taker did his good old-fashioned throat slash. The dead had risen once again. Now that's how you end a pay-per-view. Everybody and their mom knew the Undertaker was coming, but they still hit it out of the park. What a return. The symbolism of the casket on fire and then him knocking it down, it looks so awesome. To this day, this is one of the best pay-per-view endings of all time. What a moment and what a show. This Survivor Series was great. 2004 was a fun show, but this was legit awesome. Man, 05 WWE was lit, and this is a prime example. You had Triple H and Ric Flair killing each other, you had overbooked mess for the WWE title, and then you had SmackDown vs. Raw, you had Randy Orton being Mr. Survivor Series once again, you had The Undertaker returning. What a show. Classic. Ruthless Aggression era at its finest.